Hello and welcome, my name is the Clay Golem. This is Curse of Strahd, built for Foundry version 12 and 13. It's compatible with both, and in this video we're going to walk through the various acts throughout Curse of Strahd to show you how my module can work, the little bits that you need to look out for, what the buttons and things do throughout it. So it's a bit of a guide of how to run Curse of Strahd using this module. Now, bear in mind that this module is based on DragnaCarta's Reloaded, so you can use this to run the base module, but it is specifically, it's got all the extra scenes and characters and things you need for the Reloaded version. So we're going to start off with Act 0, which is going to cover the introductory stuff to get you started and the characters and things. So let's crack on. So in order to run my version of Curse of Strahd, you're going to need some additional modules. Full module list is here, active 8 modules in total. You will need Monk's Active Tile Triggers. That is a compulsory module because it does drive a lot of the scenes. You will need Tagger as well to ensure things don't go wonky with regard to links between different items. Socket lib and lib wrapper come as part of that supporting thing. So really, realistically, we're looking at 2 mods that you absolutely need. We also are utilizing a lot of monsters and tokens from the official D&D 2024 monster manual, so it's highly recommended that you do have that installed as well if you have it. If you don't, you may find that a lot of your monsters don't have the artwork, and you may need to swap those monsters out for ones from the SRD or ones that you've imported from D&D Beyond. I have the Dungeon Masters and the Player's Handbook included as well because that gives you a nice round experience. But those are the only modules you must have installed. Obviously, you need my Curse of Strahd one. So opening my Curse of Strahd module, you will see that this has got the 4 main acts as per DragnaCarta's Reloaded structure, with Act 0 containing the core resources and introduction. By clicking on that, you can see that this is going to bring in, at this moment, 262 actors and 109 items, as long as a few starting scenes. So by clicking import here, obviously that's going to bring all of that in. It won't take too long, even though this is quite a large pack because of all of those actors. There we go, that's completed. I'm going to close this for a moment because for this section of the video we won't be looking at any of the other acts. So what does this actually give us? First of all, let's start at the bottom of what we got in here. We've got our party journal, and this has reference to all of the different bits of paperwork that they can pick up along the way, including things like the Tome of Strahd, various maps and images, etc. And at the bottom there is a party notes section for your party to be able to utilize if they want to add their own notes in as they go. So it comes with that party journal ready for them. Under our items, now do note we bring in all the items as part of this core pack at the beginning because you might want to access some of those items from acts where they're not necessarily originally placed. You can see that we've got all of the standard items, like magic items like Cloak of Protection, have been included, along with a lot of custom items that come from the module. So things like the fire bottle, creepy doll, ivory hairbrush treasures and things like that, including the spell scrolls. I have not included some of the really basic items like, oh, you find a short sword or you find a shield. Nope, they're all included in the PHB or within the SRD, so I haven't added them. That's just a duplication. But anything like these nice little toys that that they can pick up in the death house, we've got little images and things like that because parties do like to collect all sorts of different things as they go. So all of the items that you need that are a little bit special for Act 1 are included in there. Same for Act 2. Again, I've created those spell scrolls for you that they find. All the items for Act 3 are here. And of course at the bottom the ones for Act 4, including all of the gems, the sun sword, etc. are all included as part of that. Looking at the actors, now bearing in mind, again, this has brought in all of the actors that are required for the entire of Curse of Strahd. I have broken them down into 4 key areas just to make life a bit easier for you to manage as the DM. Key NPCs includes those people that exist in particular locations but may well move around. They may join the party. You may want quick access to those tokens in places other than you would originally find them. So people like Muriel Vineshaw, who will travel with the party, you may want them easily accessible. So we've just ring fenced those to make them nice and easy for you to find when you need them. All of the monsters throughout the entire module sit in one big folder, but you don't need to necessarily navigate to here to find your monsters. They are already on the tiles, but we know you need to balance your game. You might need to access some of those monsters. They are all included within here, and anything that is not core Monster Manual SRD have got their own images and things added. For example, these flame skulls, there's 3 different ones, they're different colors, so we've got our own artwork for those. And any of those significant monsters like Kirill have all of their own artwork included in here. Same goes for NPCs. There's quite a lot of NPCs throughout Curse of Strahd, so they've all been given their own artwork to give you a bit of flavour, make them look a bit different rather than just having, you know, Peasant 1, Peasant 2, Peasant 3 all over the place. So all of these main characters that they're going to encounter are here. But talking of peasants, as I scroll further down to the end here, we do have a bunch of just general peasants. If you need to add additional population to areas, you can drag those out just to sort of fill up spaces and, you know, streets and things like that. So all of those NPCs are all in here, including Vistani as well, ready to go for you. And last on here is I've combined all of Strahd's forces into one folder. Again, it's possible that these may be encountered at places outside of their original setting. You may want to quickly grab them or reference them, so these are all put here. Now do note that in Curse of Strahd Reloaded by DragnaCarta, that a lot of the main big bad evil guys, the big bosses, have multiple forms. So once they get to 0 hit points, rather than dying, they transform into their next form. So we have included those as well. So looking at Ludmilla here, we have her first form when they very first encounter her. The second time they encounter her, she has 2 forms, her Elementalist and her Mist Fiend. So those different forms are all included. With, for example, we've got Raoden in here, we've got Strahd's 3 different phases, Valenta's 4, etc. So those are all in there ready to go. And as we get to those scenes, I will cover a bit more detail about them. The last one we need to look at here is the scenes that have been imported as part of this Arc 0, this setup. It includes a landing page. Now it won't bring in the thumbnails for you, so you can just right click and generate thumbnails. We have brought in a landing page for you to use. Use it or don't. It may apply to your party. You might like it, you may not. That's absolutely fine. But this is where Monk's active tile trigger starts right from the very first scene, starts to come into play and supporting the way that we run this module. So from their den here that the players have access to anytime they like, they've got lots of things in here. We as the DM, we can see these hidden items. They can't do anything with them, but we can activate, for example, this map of the valley. So when they find it, the players can then return to this area and look at their map. And as they start to find different items, they can be highlighted within there and it will link them straight to their party journal so they can go and read those. Now do note that when it comes to the Tome of Strahd, Van Richten's and the Agenvost journals, they are on the bookshelf there. So as we click those, the bindings light up letting you know that they can then access them. Prior to that, the players can't actually see that and they can't click on it. So you will need to just draw their attention to that and let them know. With this one in the middle here, this is an empty picture frame that once they get to Vallaki and they enter the town, you can click that and then that's going to fill that frame with a map of Vallaki that they can then click on and explore. Now with the rest of these photo frames across the top of the desk here, what I do for my group is I create a tile and use that character image, and I link that to that character sheet. So they've got these little photo frames with the portraits of your players in them. It's not necessary, but it does add a little flavour, makes this feel a little bit like a home from home page, if you like, for your characters. The other scenes that we've brought in here are entirely up to you. Again, once to use or not use. Let me just bring in those thumbnails. Starting off with the mysterious visitors. One of the lead-ins is about finding some mysterious visitors, having a conversation with them, and learning about the valley before they even enter the mists. If you wish to use this, again, it's quite simple to utilize. Clicking on each of these buttons down the left hand side will bring those images to the forefront. As you can see, they fade in so the players can then see them as you're working through that introduction, and they meet Stanimir and have a conversation with him, and he talks about his people. Just click on them again and they will fade out. Now for the scene that I use, it does have the the fireplace story. So we've got those images in there. So as you're reading that story, you can click on each of these images and it will bring that image so the players can see those figures in the fireplace itself. And you can just switch them between one and the other. And of course you can reset, just to put everything back to how it was. So if you wish to use that, that is there for you. Now from this point, in theory, this is where the players then head off and potentially start heading down the road towards what they don't realise is the mist and into Ravenloft itself. So once again, a bit of theatre of the mind, just with some nice images to prompt them, travelling on their road. Once again, buttons for toggling stuff here. The gates of Ravenloft. They pass through the gates. We've got a change of scene. When they find the corpse in the road, assuming that you choose to use that, we've got that tile that we can toggle. And if they read the letter attached to that individual, that will bring up the journal for that letter. Apologies for that slight issue with the permissions. We've got some wolf sounds here. So we've got 3 different wolf howls that you can use just to jolly your party along and make sure that they are actually making progress. You want to put a little bit of fear into them. In theory, they are first level at this point, so get them jollying along nice and quickly till they get to a point where they start to see the village, and then they can see the death house up ahead of them. The encounter with Rose and Thorn, and then the image of the death house itself as they actually start to approach that. Now, if you start your players at level 1, the death house is a really good introduction. It gets them up to level 3, ready for the proper adventure if you like. It's a really nice little way to do it. But if you choose to start your players at level 3, I would recommend skipping the death house completely and just not using that Rose and Thorn bit. They can go straight from seeing the village up ahead and move them straight into Act 1, which is Barovia. Now we have got these wolves here. If they are being chased by wolves, if they do dilly-dally and the wolves decide to catch them, we've got a battle map here that you can bring in. All of those wolves are set up ready to go for you. You just need to chuck your players on here and then they can flee for their lives. We have included those wolf howls on here again just to add a bit of atmosphere and get them moving. So that is the entire of this introductory bit to really get all of your resources in and ready to go, ready to start the adventure properly. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to look at the next act, which is going to start looking at the Death House. So Act 1 of the module commences with Arc A, the Death House. Now this is the optional adventure. It's really good for setting scene, for getting them into the spirit of the game, to work out exactly how they work as a party, etc. If you are using first level characters, this is a really good one to use. It will get them up to 3rd level, ready for the main adventure. If you're choosing to start at 3rd level, you can skip this. But I personally think it's a really nice introduction. This only consists of 2 scenes. scenes, I've already imported this one. So if we jump to our scenes, you can see on the right hand side it's starting to build our structure. We've still got our Act 0. Now we're into Act 1 with our Arc A, the Death House. Now the first scene here, as you can see, it's actually all 4 levels of the Death House on one map. So if the players are on different levels, much easier for you to keep track of because they're all on the same scene. You don't need to keep swapping scenes. So you'll notice that it is darker inside. Anywhere where there are lights on these maps, I have put lights on. So even if they're not lit, because players do have a tendency to do things like, oh, there's a lamp on the wall, I can see the picture, I'll light it. Well, all you need to do is to click that to light that lamp if they do that. So that's all built in for you. There's no actual creatures or monsters, it's just a lot of exploration and things to find. But where we do have monsters to fight, again, those tokens are hidden by default until you're ready to reveal them. Especially in the case of animated armor, it just looks like armor until it animates. We've got the broom there, and when we come to the attic, we've got the NPCs of Ghosts of Rose and Thorn are both there ready and waiting for you. Now you did probably notice down the left hand side, because there's lots of things to find, the actual items themselves are in that items folder. But as they find different documents and things, you can click on these and then of course show it to your players so that they can see them as well. So they're nice and easy to reference. You don't have to go digging through the journals to find them. They're just here. Now with a lot of these things, they're not relevant after the Death House, so you don't need to necessarily have them cluttering up journals, cluttering up the landing page if you choose to use it. Okay, so that's the main floor of the Death House. Really quite simple. Let's jump to the dungeons, and once again you can see that the dungeons consists of the upper level and the lower level all on one map. Same thing again. If they do move between levels, it's just easier. They're all on the same map. Once again, all the monsters are here ready for you. These monks are here, these spirit monks, because they do kind of chase the players out. That's a part of the recent revision from DragnaCarta's Reloaded. So rather than them being based down here, where some of you might be familiar with, they now effectively chase the party out. So they're ready for you to do that. And we've got all of the monsters that we need, like this Boneless is here ready to go as well. Now, straight away you can probably hear there is sounds playing right now. So if I just jumped to that, there is this chanting that happens. Of course you can turn it off, but the closer they get to this area of the map, these stairs going down, the louder that particular chanting will get. And once they come to the bottom here, there is more chanting for them to hear. Just select a token so you can hear that. So we have the here's the land, we have the one must die, etc. is all ready to play. So you can just switch those off and switch those on again to switch between those different chants as you require them. So nice and simple to do. And again, we could do that with triggers and stuff like that, but just trying to keep it simple. So regardless of what other mods you wish to use around automation and things, this is already ready for you to go. Now, one thing I should point out is down in the cellar here where we have this particular creature. This is the first of the monsters, the big bad evil guy kind of monsters that has more than one form. Now, while if we check in the actors, you will see under monsters, we'll see it wherever he is. He's in here, I promise. Wherever he is. Flesh golems, etc. Oh, it's probably under the for the flesh mound, isn't it? Because that's the way. Here we go. The flesh mound is here. He does have that secondary form, which is Walter the Graveborn down here. Now you can, of course, once he reaches 0 hit points, you can delete that token and drag out the next token. The problem with that is you do lose their initiative order, you lose any conditions they have. It does slow up the game. So because we can do this with core 2024 D&D in version 13, any of these monsters with the transform ability do have that already built in. Now in this case, it happens to be called Instinctual Defense. And if I click that, there we go. I didn't click it properly. Can't be worried there for a second. If I click that, you'll see that that comes up and it gives this transform ability. And if I click that, bam, he's transformed, and you saw his character sheet there updated to the other version. So as soon as he hits 0 hit points, you can click that, transform. It keeps his initiative, so it stays in the same place within that combat, and it updates all of his stats and abilities. And if he's got any conditions placed on him, it will keep those conditions as well. So it's a nice smooth transition. Now, in case you're wondering about getting him back to his other form, if you do that by accident and you want to return it, the easiest thing to do, to be honest, is that. Just delete him and drag out a new one, because all of those abilities are saved on that core one there. So that is the Death House. That's it. It's not a huge one. So let's move on to our next arc. As you can see, our next arc is Barovia. This is the village of Barovia. This is where we first really start to find out what's going on in the valley. And note that this has 12 scenes to import for this one. I have already imported them, ready to go. And the very first scene we've got here is just a map of the village of Barovia. If you wish to use it, it's there for you just to give your players a bit of orientation. Approaching the village itself, you start off with the barricade. This is all built for you. We've got our peasants and things here. Now do note that this individual Muriel, it does talk in the module about this. I'm not going to say what it is in case you're not a DM, but Muriel is in here. You will find that Muriel is scattered throughout the module in lots of different scenes, sometimes really obvious, sometimes a bit more subtle. For your players, it becomes a bit of, you know, like the where's Waldo, where's Wally kind of, you know, where is Muriel, is she on this scene? So a little bit of extra kind of distraction for them to find where she is on those. But if you know the module, of course you will do by the time you get to run this, you'll be aware of what happens with regard to Muriel and why she's so prevalent in a lot of these scenes. So this is just an introductory scene. We don't need to do an awful lot here. A bit of role playing. We've just got a village scene just to set the scene, and of course the statue of Ismark the Great. We've got the Blood of the Vine Tavern here. Now we have got, again, we've combined the two maps, so you've got it all in one. And just looking here, we've got the bottom half of the map here with the NPCs ready to run this. And if you do choose to use the Mad Mary particular part of the story, then she is there outside. She's currently hidden. I've just unhidden her. She's currently hidden, so the players won't see her until you're ready to bring her in for that part. On to the Burgomaster's mansion. Again, notice that the map is all included on the one scene for you to make your life a bit easier. We have our characters here, and this is where that conversation happens with regard to the peasants being unhappy with what's going on, and they first really meet Irina. Moving on to that, we have got the mercantile building, so if they want to come do some shopping, we have got Bildrath here. Now for some of you who followed the development of this module, you will know that Bildrath is a merchant, but just from a compact and compatibility size for the module, I no longer include item piles as a default. So he is a shopkeeper. You can do it the old way, not a problem at all. It just seemed that item piles was being included but not really utilized to a great extent. It was just providing more opportunities for incompatibility. So this is only a one floor. Again, lights in places you wouldn't expect, because you never know what the party are going to do, where they are going to end up. You know, they end up camping here and taking over the place. Who knows what they're going to do. Moving on to the East Barricade. So this is part of the siege. Now do notice this is a bit darker. We have our in their ranks as they come into the combat. We have got all of those creatures in here. Now this is an example where you've got zombies that are out of the 2024 monster manual. If you do not have that installed, you will probably find that these don't have icons on. You will need to replace them with the SRD versions. However, where we've got specialist creatures like the zombie plague spreader, they do have their own artwork included in the module, because I'm allowed to do that because it's my artwork for it, there's no copyrights on it. You will find that those should be absolutely fine. Now under the siege, just note that we have created these barricades as actors. They're effectively created as monsters, because that way we can give them an armor class and hit points, so the monsters can genuinely target them and attack them. So it's a really nice thing you can do in Foundry to kind of cover those sorts of situations. And there's our Muriel there. Moving to the western barricade after that, of course, we have another battle going on here, and this is where it's not gone quite so well. We have our last zombie plague spitter, and we have Raoden. The first time we meet Raoden, now he is hidden because again you want to do a bit of the lead up to that, and we have a tile here. You can double click to show an image of Raoden on his steed as he comes into the village. Double click to hide again, and then you can reveal Raoden, and off you go. You can continue with that. So lots of places where there are these tiles on there. Just bear in mind that if it's like that, the players can't see it, the players can see it, the players can't see it. So there's lots of places you will see that throughout of the pack itself. Back to the Burgomaster's mansion, there's a number of places where you go to and from a number of times. If it needs setting up as a completely different scene like this, then there will be multiple copies of that map. This is where Kolyan has actually been murdered and Irina is unconscious. So we've got those in there on a slightly different scene. I have just noticed that Ismark doesn't have his portrait, probably because I pulled him from the wrong place. But I will make sure that that gets fixed. So if you do see any like that, if you just click on them, it will tell you who their name is. So you can, if you spot any that I have missed, you can just come and find them, of course, because we've got all our NPCs here. No, wrong one, and we can just drag him out and replace him. Not a problem, he's right there. Okay, so just so you know, it's very easy for you to locate those things to solve any of those little issues that might occur. But I have done my very best to make sure you don't encounter any of those. And there's one in the second act. Sorry, in the first act, the second arc. We do have the church here. This is where they first come in and meet the priest. Now, this is one of those ones we've got a bit of interactivity. This is about burying the Burgomaster. So we do have these guys in here coming off to there. And I have put helpfully that this is kind of the area within this kind of square is where your players, you would want your player tokens to assemble. Because as you're working through that and you're describing that scene, you can click dig grave to show where that hole is. Now it makes sense of why you want the players standing in a particular place and not standing over the hole. And then at the end of the ceremony, you can complete that. You've got your dirt over it and a little headstone on there. So you can complete that ceremony if you like. So nice and easy. And you probably notice also that the lighting changed when the burial is complete. Now, if they do go into the cellar, of course, that is down here, and we do have our vampire spawn for that part. Doro is down there ready to go for you. Moving on, Lugdunner's Mole. I can't say it. This is just there's not an awful lot to happen here. It's just a role-playing scene, so it's just something for the players to look at while you're having that discussion, should they choose to do it. And if they happen to go to Mad Mary's house, there's no reason they would at all, but we do have Mad Mary in her house if they choose to do that. That is the end of Barovia as a scene. There's an awful lot that happens there, but from a scene's point of view, that's what you've got. That's relatively straightforward. So with that, let's move on to Arc C. So for Arc C is essentially the travel between the village of Barovia and the town of Vallaki, including their first Tarot reading. So as you can see, there's a total of 16 scenes in here. Again, I have already imported them. Just note, by the way, that I have labelled these. C10 is at the top. We actually want to start at C1 down here. So first of all, when we are leaving Barovia, we do have these hidden scouts. We've got a button there, we can click them. They are faded out quite a lot, so it's difficult for the DM to see, but that is enabling the players to see them. Click it again, the players can't. They just fade in and out of that mist. Again, that's just a tiny little role-playing piece for them. There's nothing particularly big that goes on there. If the players find out about Van Richten's cache and decide to go looking for it, you've got a battle map here to use, again with the monsters on here ready to go when they come down to this bottom section to dig. Nothing exciting to talk about there. Once we get to the crossroads, so we've got this beautiful scene here. There's a number of things that can happen. This is when they very first encounter Strahd and have a conversation with them. So it's mostly a role-playing visual scene rather than a battle map. So we're at that crossroads, you can see, and we have a number of buttons here. So we can click the coach and we get the image of Strahd's coach will appear. We can click Strahd himself so that when you're having that conversation with him, they've got something to look at. If the party acts threatening and things like that, we do have the direwolf that can appear just to illustrate the fact that there are these giant hungry wolves hanging around in the forest, just to put the party off of the idea of trying to fight Strahd at this point, because they will die. Now, if they are silly enough to get into a fight with him, there is a button that says combat, and that will fade that out completely, and it will give you a combat map ready to go for this. Again, you can see the image overlaid for this one. The players can't, but you've got all of your direwolves here and Strahd ready to do that combat if they're foolish enough to do that. If I just click that again, that should reset us back to... no, it's not going to reset us back. I haven't got a reset button on this. But to be honest, if they've gone to combat, then that's... you're in trouble as it is. Right, so we come back to our main scene there. There we go. While they're having this conversation, we do have a button to add some lightning to that scene just by clicking this, a bit of atmospherics. And if you do choose to stay true to the story, there is a bit where you know, one of those lightning bolts highlights a ghostly hanging figure, so you can have a few bits of lightning going on, and then you can throw that one in just to see if anybody notices. Moving on, the next scene is the Strix. This is a straight up combat battle map. There's Muriel again. This is when she first gets attacked by the Strix the first time they meet them. That's all easy. The Sir Paul, once we get to the Sir Paul, this is where we meet Madam Eva, and we're going to want our tarot reading completed. Fairly simple scene, but be aware because they are hidden. This is where you would do the tarot reading. So by double clicking, I'll just zoom out a bit. By double clicking, you get your tarot cards. So they're hidden. There's one there, there's one there, one there, one there, and one there. So anywhere on that card. So first of all, she deals the cards face down, and then in turn, working clockwise, you can reveal each of the cards and obviously tell the players what it is that they mean. So they get that kind of get to see the cards and get to participate in that, but they can't see them when they're face down like that. So yeah, simple as that. Okay, so again, Monk's active tile triggers allows those things to happen really, really nicely. But if I don't tell you they're there, you you wouldn't notice they're there. So that's one of the reasons for doing this video. Back to the crossroads. Nothing particular happens here except encountering the undead horseman that you may or may not choose to use. It is in there, and again, we've still got our lightning if we want to, and if you want to throw in that hanged person at this point, you can do. Nothing happens at the ruined watchtower really. There are some graves here. They might hang around and investigate, but once again, we've got the tower, and we've got the different floors of the tower all included on the same map here. And just so you're aware, they are walls between those areas of the maps where we've got multi-maps like this, so they can't see the other areas from the one that they're on. So when they're in this one, it looks like they're just looking at this. If they go upstairs and are here, they will only be able to see this part of the map. So yeah, it works. Next thing is the ravine, where they encounter some wolves and they have a fight. Nice and easy, just a battle map there. And then onto the Sir Falls themselves. You can probably work this one out. It's pretty much just a visual map, but we do have, when they're talking to the Revenant, you can double click and then they can see a image of the Revenant that they're talking to, rather than being all the way zoomed in down here. So if you wish to use that, of course you can. The next thing they encounter, of course, is the West Gates. So we've just got that to remind them what the gates look like and make the realization that the other gates that they saw was when they entered into the valley, if that wasn't obvious. We've then got the old windmill, so the old bone grinder, and this is on this one, this is where they first meet Morgantha. So she is there with her cart just on her way back. Now, once again, we've got all 4 levels of the windmill shown here. We've got the walls between. At this point, the players should not leave this part of the map. They should not be going upstairs. Morgantha won't allow that. So that is this scene. So you can see it's got some pretty stuff. It's got battle maps when you need it, etc. That is Arc C, all done, ready to go. Let's go look at the next arc. And of course, before we do move on to the next arc, because again, the order of these, because of the way that I've labelled them, which matches with the DragnaCarta reloaded version, they're just ordered slightly funny, so we do need to come back to the top. So our encounter C10, which is just a deep woods, again it's just descripted, so we've got a nice descriptive, we've just got a nice scene for them to look at. And then they move on to Lake Zarovich, again is just for a scene for something for them to look at. And then we end up with the werewolf hunt here, where we do have a whole bunch of wolves and things ready to go. And down the bottom here, we've got Muriel and her swarm of ravens that will come and assist. So they're all there ready to go. And that's the last thing that happens before they hit Vallaki, and they arrive at the gates. So we have got our camp outside of the gates, the people not being allowed in, and of course we've got our guard. So that's quite straightforward, all ready to go. And just moving inside here, we have then got the Blue Water Inn. So this is basically their first thing in Vallaki they do. They come to the Blue Water Inn. You can see that this is nicely populated. We've got Rictavio here telling stories, etc. We've got Erwin, our barkeep, and one of our main characters that is used throughout of the adventure, throughout the whole campaign. Upstairs there we have got their children, Brom and Bray, so they are on every one of these scenes, so they're always available if you want to move them around, have a bit of fun with them, etc. They are ready to go. And just bearing in mind that with any of these scenes, if you do change the lighting to make it nighttime, etc., all of that will work perfectly with no drama. If you do decide to add additional weather on, so we don't have any weather on this one at the moment, if I want to add some ambient weather on, for example, let's chuck a blizzard on there, we have got all of our regions set up for all of these maps, so the interiors don't get snowed in or whatever other weather effect you've had. Right, now on to Arc D. We have now completed Act 1, which really is all about getting them to the Vallaki and giving them that context and stuff. And we are now into Act 2, and the first arc in that Arc D is St. Andrew's Feast. And this consists of a total of 7 scenes that I have already imported. The first scene is that map of Vallaki. So you can show this straight away, but remember that is also available through their home page as well, that landing page, the study. Jumping into the actual church map of Vallaki, we've got all of the items here ready to run this. Again, play Spot the Muriel, she's over there. Don't tell your players, don't let them watch this. But we have got everything ready to go for this encounter, including where we've got damaged floorboards, etc. So this is set up for that first encounter where they bump into Henrik as they are coming in, he's coming out. Nothing special about this one, but it's ready to go for you. We then move off to the house where they're going to Milivoy and his family to find out what's happened with those bones. And we've got the Arasek stockyard here too, with everything set up that we need. Ignore this. This wagon will make sense later on. For those of you who know, you do know. And we've got our storekeeper, etc. up there. So not an awful lot that needs to happen here from a map point of view. We do have the coffin maker's shop where they do eventually track back to here, and again this is a map on 2 levels, both included in here. So if they go, this scene ends in a fight, and that fight can be split between upstairs and downstairs, and it can move between upstairs and downstairs and back again. So having them both on here so that you're not changing scene and they're just moving up and down makes an awful lot of sense. It's a really good way to do it for this type of thing. Now, once again, we have got our creatures out here. We've got our standard vampire spawn from the DMG, but we've also got Valenta Popovsky, so the first of Strahd's brides. And just like we saw before with the Death House, is that when she hits 0 hit points, we've got a reaction here that we can click that. It's going to say transform, and she transforms into her next form with all of her stats and things ready to go and go again. Now, in theory, at this point, she'll be escaping, but players, you can't predict players. They're going to do all sorts of hideous things and upset you. So quite straightforward. Yep, just really a bit of exploration, trying to retrieve the bones, and a big bad fight. Hopefully nobody dies, but hey, whatever. It's Curse of Strahd. Somebody's going to die sooner or later. We move to the invitation, so we are now at the Blue Water Inn. So the Blue Water Inn is all set up here. We've got our main characters, so Erwin is in here, and this is set up. Once again, we've got the upper floor here with the 2 children and the roof area, but we do have these. I just turned that off because we've got fireplace crackling noises when I've got him selected. There's a fireplace there, or rather the noise is ready for the fireplace there. We've got our other characters if we need them, and you can present them with Strahd's invitation directly from here if that is what you wish to do. And the last part of this is the trial. So this is in here. This is where Milvoy potentially gets into serious trouble. So we've got our Vallaki guards out here and a whole bunch of our peasants and things. And this is where Lady Watcher is first encountered. She is hidden at the moment because she enters the scene part way through. So that's it for Arc D. It's really quite straightforward. There's not huge amounts in there. Nice and easy to run. But it's what your players go and do next, because the whole of Act 2 is open for the players to run amok and go all over the place. So make sure you're prepared. Anyway, let's move on to the next arc. So Arc E, the missing Vistani. This is about the characters trying to track down and rescue a teenage girl that belongs to the Vistani people. So you can see we've got 11 scenes in here, so it's not one of the big ones, but it's got plenty to do in here. The first one of these scenes is Blinsky Toys, where in theory they're coming to buy a toy. So we've got an image of Blinsky here so they know what he looks like, and we've also got their poster in the window. Just a role-playing scene, nothing specific for them to do here. The next from there is off to the Vistani camp. And you can see that this is all laid out, and again this is misty, but the interior is covered, and we've got those campfires lit and our main characters ready to go here. So these main NPCs for that conversation, nothing too special about that. Off to Casimir's hovel. Again, fairly simple scene. We don't really need to do anything with that at all. And then we're off to the Burgomaster's mansion. So this is all set up with all of these characters in here. And this is another area they will return to repeatedly. At this point, they should not have any dealings with Izuk. If for some reason they do, Izuk is available. He is here. And he is one of those ones that has that second phase. So he can transform into his second phase if necessary. But in theory, they deal with him later. We got the Baron in there with his 2 doggos, and if we go up to the attic, bearing in mind we come up through a trapdoor and through the attic, this is where we find Victor in here with the rug that covers his magic circle, and the spirit mirror which comes into play a little bit further on with the lost soul. But these are already set up because you never know which order people are going to do stuff here. And if you need to reveal that magic circle, of course, you can just move that and it's hidden underneath. Okay, so that's nice and easy if that becomes relevant for you. So it's those little things that you don't necessarily know are there unless somebody tells you. But it's all good. Off to Lake Zarevich. So again, we've got our lake view. They can arrive at the cabin. Whoops. They can arrive at the cabin. So they get to see that cabin view, meet Soldar, meet Yevgeny. And again, they just toggle on and off nice and easily. The Svalich Road, so again crossing this is just a scene, but you'll notice that there is tokens on here. They're all hidden because there is a battle map here. So they come along, cross this bridge to the crossroads many times. Rather than doing it as two separate scenes, we've got it like this, so they can see that they cross the bridge and we can toggle to that battle map, and here's the actual crossroads underneath. So you can just toggle between the two. Sometimes they'll come via the crossroads and then cross the bridge. Sometimes it'll be the bridge then to the crossroads. But anytime that they're going to do combat, and again these are all set up ready to go for them, that is all in place. They are of course heading to Kazan's tower here. Now this does need a little bit of explaining just so that you understand how this works. We already have these golems are already on the map, so these ones are hidden. There is no reason they would get into a fight with these golems, but they are there just in case you need them. One would hope not. You don't have to go searching. Now do note that we've got the ground floor, the first floor, the second floor and the fourth floor all on the same map here. But I do need to talk to you and let you know about the elevator. So if I let's pick Muriel Vineshaw. If I put her onto the elevator and click move to first floor, the rattling chains, she will move to the first floor. From here we can then move to the second floor and to the third floor, back to the second floor, first floor, ground floor. So that elevator effectively works. Anybody standing in the middle of this will get moved. If I move that to the first floor, you'll notice that tile also disappears. Let's move it back to the ground floor. There we go, so that tile reappears. So that's kind of automated for you, and again, expect your players to be going up and down and messing around with it. Have a bit of fun with the clicking. That all works very nicely. But of course, the door to this place is locked. It's magically sealed. I'll get rid of Muriel. Doesn't need to be there. There's nothing else automated on here. There doesn't need to be, because their aim is to get to the top here and to loot some goodies. But to get into this place, we do have the tower door, and they need to solve the puzzle that is effectively linked to Kazan's ring. So what I've done here is, because there is a particular order and they can go in either direction, this red lines on here, the players cannot see them. But you as the DM, it's just a reminder that they need to go in order of these symbols following a particular pattern. In order for you to say yes, the door opens. If they get it wrong, you can just click reset. So if they go, oh, start there, you go, no, wrong, you can click reset, and according to the module they take damage from that as well. Again, if you're using automations and things like that, you could choose to automate that damage you're applying to them. I decided not to do that for simplicity of the module. So those red lines just give you that guide for it. They get it right, brilliant, let them in, take them back to the tower and unlock that front door for them, this one right here, so they can then go in. The road back, so again here's that crossroads again, and they meet these two nefarious individuals who may or may not be werewolves. If you know, you know. And then back to the Blue Water Inn. Now every time they come to the Blue Water Inn, it's because I'm not using the same scene every time, because the setup might be slightly different. There's different characters and things in around, and you don't want to spend ages trying to go, now which arc was that particular inn in. So every arc that they are likely to end up at the Blue Water Inn, it will have a version of the Blue Water Inn for you. And the last one on here is the Arasek Stockyard, which is all ready for the finding of this young Vistani lady. So set up as always. And I mentioned about, of course, the caravan, this one here, which Arabelle is actually stashed in, and I've got Arigal just here. And again, they are all hidden, so you're not accidentally giving stuff away when you put characters on and go, oh no, you shouldn't be able to see that person yet. They start off hidden for you. So that is Arc E. It's quite straightforward, relatively speaking. The challenge comes when they are partway through St. Andrew's Feast and then start doing missing Vistani bits, and the storylines all get mixed. It's all good, it's all great fun, but it does get a little bit tricky to keep a track of. Alright, that's this one. On to the next arc. So Arc F is the Lady Watchers list. Wish rather, and this only consists of 6 scenes, and it is based entirely in Vallaki, so we haven't got lots of other places to go. So importing that again on the right hand side, let's just shrink that a bit. You can see that we've only got these 6 scenes. We are once again back at the Blue Water Inn. Slightly different crowd in here, including this dodgy fellow over here, Ernst the Lanark, who's just hanging around being dodgy. Inviting our guests to the Watcher House for dinner. Now, I've always got the maids and the cooks and stuff. They are always here ready to go. So we've got these individual characters all in here. And where we've got characters that come in late, like Stella and Lady Fiona Watcher, they are just on standby, standing in those that secret staircase, ready for you to bring in as required. We have got the upstairs as well, and we've got the cellar, not relevant to this particular scene, but they are relevant later on, so we're using the same maps for all of those. Back to the Burgomaster's mansion. We have been here before. Not a lot has changed, because this is a lot of conversation back and forward kind of stuff. So that's pretty much similar to you've already seen. Nothing special we need to worry about on this one. Then we are off to the town square. And here we are again. This is when they first kind of encounter Isaac properly in a nasty kind of way. Very simple scene, nothing magic going on there, nothing for you to be too worried about. And if they happen to follow him to do the gate inspections, again, we've seen this scene before. It's just a repetition of it with our characters at different places. I don't want you having to go backwards and go, where was the gates? I've got to go find the gates. Gate inspections, it's here. So again, all of these, F4 relates to the F4 section in the reloaded module. So it should be really easy to find the right scene for that, even if they throw a bit of a curveball at you. And then we've got the abdication. So just bear in mind, this is different from the trial scene, even though it all takes place in the same area. So this is all set up, ready to go. And of course, the characters are playing Spot Muriel. So Arc F, really quite straightforward, nothing too complicated in there. You probably didn't need me to cover this one, but I did it anyway. Onwards to the next one. Arc G, the Strahd siblings, is really quite straightforward. There's only 3 scenes in this one, so very easy for you. We're at the Blue Water Inn again. We've already talked about that. That is all here, all the walls, everything, and the weather is all sorted. And then we also have the town square, which again you have seen before. Now this is left purposely empty, depending on exactly what is going on, but you've got access to those actors to be able to throw them on as and when you require. And if they do end up doing the rescue, of course they are back here at the Burgomaster's mansion, probably up here. Irina has been added because that's who they are here to rescue, should that be required. Now again, of course, they will likely come here at night, so you can easily turn this scene dark just using the Foundry controls there. And once again, you'll see that all of the lights are available for them. I tend to put lights on if people are in those rooms, but not have lights on in rooms that are not being used at the moment. But they're all there ready to go. So if you want to turn that dining table lights on, there we go. You can turn the chandelier on if you wish to do that. It's all ready to go. The outside lights, if it's night time, you want to do that. Now, I did mention this already, of course, is that we do have Isaac here, who has a multiple forms. He's got his first form, and just to show you how this works, if I didn't want to do that. If I damage him and actually put him down onto something like 12 hit points, he is bloodied. If I transform him into his next phase, he returns to the hit points for his second phase, as well as his abilities changing and everything else. So that all works as you would expect. But that's really quite simple. It's basically the entire arc is beat the crap out of Isaac, all ready to go. Easy peasy this one. Arc H is the Lost Soul, all about retrieving this lost spirit from the ethereal plane. There are 10 scenes in this one, but once again, it takes place mostly in Vallaki. So we start off, we've got the Blue Water Inn, but because it's night time, our characters are actually in bed. But again, you can move them around as is required depending on what your players do. We got the Burgomaster Mansion because in theory they're back here talking to Victor again properly, and we do have the Spirit Mirror here. Now I put this in here, otherwise this is another one you don't know about. You can reveal this image to the players when they're talking to Stella in the Spirit Mirror. So that's there, and double click to make that go away again. Apart from that, that's really straightforward. At this point of the adventure, the refugees may well have been allowed access to Vallaki and set up in the town square, and they're going off looking for Franz here. So if the refugees are inside, bring them to this scene. If the refugees are still outside, bring them to this scene, and we've still got Franz who they're looking for. So whichever scene is applicable, you've got both of them to choose from. You don't need both of them. We're back here. Victor's plan, after doing those conversations, we come back, more conversations with Victor. So again, we've got a repetition of that, but it doesn't make any difference, just makes the flow easier for you. And then back to the Watcher House, where they can have those conversations. Stella's body's in there, etc. if necessary. But the most important part is that we are off. We've got our encounter with the druid. Really, really simple scene, this one. Nothing to write home about. But they're off to the windmill once more. So we've got this windmill map again. But now they will explore more of it, because they're going to encounter Morgantha here, and her two sisters who are here as well. So we've got Bella and Ophelia are both here for them to deal with. Now, this is one of those areas that I need to explain what I've done that is different from the Reloaded module. In Strahd Reloaded, each of these three hags have two forms. They have their form at the moment that you can see, and then they transform into another form. The way it's written in the module is they have a shared hit point pool. When that hit point pool hits 0, then they all three of them transform into their other forms. That was actually quite technically kind of challenging to do without using other mods and things like that. So what I have done instead is each of these, they do not have a common health pool. They have their own health pool, but they also all have their second phases. So I can transform Morgantha into her second phase here, which isn't the most exciting of the transformations. I'll show you the other two in a moment. Now, you can choose how you run this and how deadly you want to make it for your party. If your party are not struggling so far, you might say that they have to defeat each hag in turn, as in they're fighting all three of them, but when Morgantha hits 0 hit points, she transforms, not all of them, and then once she gets to 0 hit points again, only she dies, not the others. So do away with that pool of hit points that is shared between them. The other way to do it would be to say if any of the three hags reach 0 hit points, then they all transform into their second form. And then if any one of them hit 0 hit points again, all of them die. That's my preference for doing this, rather than trying to keep track of a central pool of points between them. That way, if they pump all of their energies into one individual, they hack down all three of them at the same rate. If they spread their damage throughout the three of them, it's going to take them an awful lot longer. So just an extra bit of challenge. So we've seen her transform. We've got these two. This is going to get busy because their extra forms are actually quite large. So for Bella Sunbane, with her transformation, and this is what I really like about the transformation, her second phase, when we do that, her second phase is actually much bigger. So don't do or rather try not to let your party do what my party did, which was force them to transform when they were indoors and could not get out of the windmill. It was a slaughter. It did not go the way I expected or hoped, but there we go. As per usual, it's D&D. That's what's supposed to happen. And we've got Ophelia as well. If I move her character sheet over one side, you can see that transformation happen. Nope, it's going to put it in the middle. There we go. So she transforms into her next phase with her new abilities for this particular form. So they're all built in. You've seen how easy that is. You just click that particular reaction. they hit 0 hit points, click transform, job done. So after the bone grinder, they head back to the Watcher house with the idea is they're coming into the cellar this time to perform this particular ritual. So you can do all your role play and everything there. And then when they transfer over to the ethereal plane, I've got an ethereal version of that map. So it's only the same map, it's just faded out so that it looks a bit different. They realise they're in the ethereal plane. And of course we've got all of the monsters and things around here that they will encounter as part of the ethereal plane. And once again, they're all hidden for now. We don't want our players getting a jump on things. We do have yet another one of these multi-phase creatures here, the Gallows Speaker. So he's got everything he needs in here. And when he hits 0, I've forgotten which one it is. Yep, it's this one here. It's the Wrath of the Traitor. When he hits 0, he is also going to transform and get his new stat block, etc. He doesn't change size, and I haven't got a separate image for that. So it's the same token, but it's D&D. It's describe what's happening. It's all in the module anyway. So that's it. That is the Lost Soul. That is Arc H. Again, nothing too complex in there. It's just bearing in mind that those monsters have a bit of consideration about how you want to do those hit point pools for the hags. And make sure you know how those transforms work. Now, once this one is transformed again, it's like, oh, I've got the wrong form. Can I make him go back? Yes, you can. 3 dots, restore transformation. That's going to put him back to his normal form. So that's going to work with any of those if you want to do it. If you accidentally send them when you don't mean to or something like that. Or you can just delete them and drag them out from the from either the monsters or Strahd's forces, depending on which one they are. So that is it for that particular arc. On with the next one. Arc I is the Walls of Krezk. There's 16 scenes for this particular one. This is where they first encounter one of the big bads, Babala Saga. So we start off by we're travelling off to the town of Krezk. And we are crossing the Luna River. Now, of course, same as before, we can toggle this to a battle map if we need it. But nothing exciting on there. The Raven River crossroads or crossing, that's there. Again, nothing particularly interest to worry about there. And then we get to the gates themselves. Now, bearing in mind we're heading up into the mountains, therefore we've now got this snowy area. We have got tokens for the guards wearing more suitable attire considering the weather. And of course we've got the Baron here. Now the idea is they don't get into the town at this point. They are turned away and sent off to go and seek the Swamp Witch Babala Saga. So they are going to head back to the crossroads. Now on the way back they encountered this this wolf. So this is just a tile here with an image that's been obliterated really by all of these needle blights. So there's a nice fight here at the crossroads. They come through the crossroads a lot, so it's nice that sometimes when they come through it they have a fight. So this is actually a proper scene within the module rather than just being a random encounter. We're then going to follow the Luna River path. Now, just bearing in mind that, of course, we are linked to the module by the titles of each of these scenes. So it talks about them finding one of the old altars, cairns, things. We're then going to approach the ruins themselves. Now, while this is quite a large map, they are going to come on here. We've got the 2 scarecrows. They probably want to leave those hidden to start with so they don't assume that they're monsters, just describe them. And they are going to encounter Wensika as first of all. So she starts off hidden and then they're going to get escorted. So there's not an awful lot for them to do on this map once they meet her. She's going to escort them to the hut itself. So we can jump to that scene where we do have the hut. Now, we've got a fading tile here with Babala Saga inside, with her floating skull outside for them to climb up into the hut. So again, at this point, this should be a role-playing scene rather than anything else. They will deal with her properly later when they're more equipped to do so. But she's all in there ready for that. Now, They will, in theory, as part of that, head to the goat pen to perform the scrying spell. So we've got our goats in here ready for that. You might choose not to show this scene at this point. You may just describe it. That's entirely up to you. It's here if you want to use it. The same as the monument, it's unlikely that they will come to the monument at this point. If they do, we've got our creatures here ready to attack them. It's here if you want to use it. You don't have to. Again, the chances are the characters won't go there. They may also cross the river and go and investigate the swamp vein because they can see the standing stones from across the river. If they should do that, the scene is here in the same arc for you, ready for that. They will come back to that later. Once again, the chances of them doing anything with the churchyard at this point is minimal, but it is there in case they do. And the same with the mansion. If they wish to explore those areas, they can. There's not an awful lot for them to find at this point. They come back here later and it gets a lot more interesting. On the way back, they see this ghostly battlefield. So we've just got an image here just to give them an idea of this ghostly battle happening. And there is, you can see faded in the background, this dragon. So you can just click this to reveal a faded dragon that approaches the scene. It's just a bit of storytelling. It's just a bit of roleplay, scene setting kind of stuff. Nothing actually happens here. Then in theory they get back to Kresk, so we've seen this before, and in theory they are able to bring news to the Baron, who will then let them in. Probably don't go to the Blessed Pool at this point, but if they have come here very specifically seeking a cure for cackle fever or something that they've picked up along the way, they may well come to here to pick wolfsbane, etc. And then we've got the Baron's house with everybody set up for that scene. So this whole bit really is about going to Kresk, getting diverted to go and see Babala Saga in the swamp, and then coming back here once again. So it's not a huge scene. There's not a lot of technicality going on with it. But feel free to move around. That's it for this one. On to the next one. Okay, so now we're moving on to Act 3, The Broken Land. And as you can see on the left-hand side, this consists of quite a few little chapters here. Stolen Gem, The Fallen Abbey, Den of Wolves, The Dragon's Manor, Dinner with the Devil, so actually up at the castle itself, including the Ravenloft heist, and the Shining Beacon. We're looking at Arc J in this one. Again, we're using some similar scenes, but this is all about going off to the winery, the Stolen Gem. So we've got the blue water in. We've seen that before. No particular changes there. Muriel is in here in her human form, ready for the players to meet. We once again got the Luna River crossroads, which we see repeatedly. If they go past the junction, there is the Raven River crossroads in here ready for you. And we have the travel to the Wizard of Wines, where we do have this encounter here with a trap. Now you will see that this trap is here and it's hidden, and this is just set up as a tile that if any of them walk on it, then it will show the tile and it will pause the game, etc. It is not automated, as I said before. We don't have all those things installed as part of the core mod, so all it will do is pause the game and allow you to manually deal with that, but of course you're welcome to automate that if you wish to. Off to the Wizards of Wines winery itself. Now we do have a couple of things here. We have got added in all of the creatures, obviously, where they need to be, and some of the imagery. Here are the NPCs that take them off to have a bit of a roleplay conversation at the beginning, rather than them frontally assaulting the winery, unlike my own party. We got a bit lightning here, of course. Just click the button. Bit of thunder behind it. If you click it too many times, it will interrupt the thunder. You don't want to do that. I was just demonstrating. We've got all of our creatures and our monsters all set up, ready to go. And we've got the cellar here as well. Now what we do have is, you will have noticed there's a second button here of move to tunnel. So you can have your role playing with this group up here, and when they are ready to move to that tunnel, clicking this button, I haven't got my actual PCs on here, but clicking this this button here will automatically teleport all of your player characters to this point here at the end of the tunnel, where they can then come past the brown mold and into the cellar of the winery. So that's what that button does. Any token on the screen that is flagged as a player character will get teleported there. Now, if they've got Muriel with them, you might want to make sure that Muriel is set as a player token, so she goes as well, or you might want to just drop her in separately directly into the cellar there. But quite straightforward, nothing too impressive there. Kavan's Cairn, this is just a scene where they come in and have a conversation with him. There's nothing special about this one at all. And leaving there, again, they encounter Strahd and have a bit of a conversation with him. So it's just a placeholder image to have that bit of role play before they move off to Yester Hill. So I just put this image here again as a bit of a placeholder, something for them to look at. But when you're describing the scene and you talk about the fact that the Viridian lights, you can click this button and we get this nice glowing Viridian type of green color over the top of the hill. Again, you can toggle it off if you want to. Don't feel that you need to use it, but it is there. Just adds a little something to create atmosphere. In the original Curse of Strahd, they do spend some time working their way through the Berserker cairns to work their way up the hill. In Reloaded, it's not really a thing. I have put the map in there. If you want to use it, you can, because every game is different. Every DM is different. Every party is different. So you've got that option if you want it. When we get to the top of the hill, we have the actual battle at the top here. So this is all ready to go with the circles drawn out for the various powers that happen, and you'll notice Ludmilla is in here. So these are your druids around the outside who are performing the ceremony. You've got Svarog is here for you, so you can move him around and actually engage with the combat, and you've got your four externally. Now, it's up to you depending how you run it. All of these are just tiles here. So what you might choose to do is to say, well, actually, you want yours hidden at the beginning of this scene. So you can just drag around all of them and hide them until Ludmilla throws up the thorny wall. I started with it already up because the way my players approach the whole thing. But that's already there. But you also have this this circle here, which is just a drawing. Again, you can just reveal that to show the extent of the fog. I did play with different effects and things in the fog. What I found was that it actually really obscured the player's view of what's going on. So really, it's just to delineate for your explanations of where that circle is. Without lots of effects and things like that, it's very, very simplistic. Use it, don't use it. If you want to replace that with a tile with an animated fog on it and things like that, I personally would be using FX Master to create this. So Gambit's FX Master, creating this area and having that fog within there. But again, I didn't want to start adding more modules in again for it. So it's quite simplistic. It does the job. Now, bearing in mind, of course, we do have this this statue in the middle. Now, at the moment, it's just a statue. They will see it. You can talk about it being the statue, but it is also Winter Splinter. If they fail to end the ritual and Winter Splinter is born, in inverted commas, then obviously you've got that token there that's just ready to go to immediately engage with that combat. Hopefully your players don't allow that to happen, but who knows. The Gilthias tree, again, there's no real reason your players visit it at this point. It is confusing within the module of whether this tree is on the top of the hill where the statue is, or if it's something separate. And it's really kind of confusing because, well, it can't be where the statue is because the statue's there. So this is a separate scene. So however you want to manage that, you can separate them out. If you want to do it around here, you absolutely can. So that's just there again, ready for you. When it comes to the Whispering Wall, that's again, it's just a role play kind of scene. The problem with the Whispering Wall is it tends to go into dreams and nightmares later on, that are very much personal to the individual character. So we can't build a scene for that without knowing your individual characters. So you may want to just do, you know, the old ways of just explaining and describing that. If Strahd comes to see them here at the wall, in theory he does. They might not go anywhere near the wall. You can just reveal him. Again, it's just a click tile to show or hide him to the players as part of that role-playing stuff. And then they return once again to the winery. So this is obviously the same scene, but it's changed. We now have our the Martyov, whatever their name is, they're back in here. As part of that. Now, a couple of these maps are a little bit blurry on my video right here. I have updated the pack so that a couple of these maps that are a little bit too blurry, and I thought, oh, that needs sharpening up, have improved. So if you're watching this video but haven't opened the pack yet, please don't worry, that's not as blurry in the real pack. It's a bit more crisp. All right, that's it for this arc. Onwards. Okay, our next arc is Arc K, The Fallen Abbey. There's only 3 scenes for this one. It's actually quite a short little arc. So we have got the Kevrov's cottage again. So that's all here, ready to go with his family members. And then we've got the Abbey once again, which is up here with our various characters. So we've got Vasilka here with the abbot. Now, the way my party did it is they kind of jumped this a little bit earlier than I expected. But everything is ready to go. So we've got all of our Bellevues are here. We've got our flesh golem out, etc. And if they do actually come searching for their ally, they find Esmeralda here, all ready to go. It's a fairly simple little arc. It's a bit of investigation. It's learning a bit about what's going on at the Abbey. And we have included the Shrine of the White Sun here in case you need it. Picking of Wolfsbane, I think it is, that can happen around here if necessary. But that's it. It's a really simple arc. There's not an awful lot in there at all, so we can move swiftly on to the next one. So Arc L is all about the Den of Wolves and encountering and dealing with the werewolves, a bit of a rescue mission, etc. It does start off with the first encounter being with this individual Bianca at the shores of the lake. So we've just got a placeholder image for you here. Now, bearing in mind the links back to Esmeralda's wagon at the tower, she has a number of things get stolen. One of them is a musical instrument, so I made it really obvious that Bianca's the one that's nicked it, just to start off that conversation, and you play that however you like. The next one we have here is the Campfire Tales. So down at the bottom here, this is the entrance to the wolf den. But the idea is that the party are hanging around, perhaps camping. My party camped just up here, above the wolf den, waiting for them to leave before they went and entered it. If you do use the bit where they go up to the Ring of Stones, you can use this map for that as well. So that's all in here, ready to go. And then once they journey down to the bottom, we can switch to the Wolf Den itself. Which again, this map is all laid out for you. You can see that as the entrance here. And we've got all of the various creatures and stuff set up, ready to go, including Velika and Ilya, who in theory that's why they're here to rescue. Now Bianca does turn up at some point, so we have got her token here, so you know, you can just drag her on and move her down to encounter the party if necessary. And for we've just got this light here, for the light that streams in through the bit of moonlight that lights up the treasure pile, if you want. So this is where they get the what's it called? You know what it's called. It's the holy symbol of Ravenkind. That's it. That's where they get this from. So the party, in theory, will be coming here if only to get that. The only thing you need on the scene to worry about here that's a bit different is there is a button here to reveal the just an image of the dead elk that is laying basically at the entrance here. So again, use it or don't use it, it's just a button. You can also just click there as well, and that will do that. It will show and hide that, but that's all you need. So once again, a really small, it takes them a while from a from a session point of view to do this bit, but it's actually very short on scenes. So nice and easy. Done. On with the next one. So Arc M is where the players go to Agenvostholt, the Dragon's Manor. In Strahd Reloaded, it's referred to as the Dragon's Manor, even though it's known as Agenvostholt. It's one and the same place. Don't get confused when you're reading the module. It's like, well, hang on a minute, where's this Dragon's Manor place? Same thing. So because this map is reasonably large and there are 5 floors in total, I did not do that as a tiled map like I did for the tower, etc. I kept these separate, or otherwise it does make this scene really huge, and then therefore impacts loading times and stuff like that. Now, because lots of descriptions of the room in Strahd Reloaded refers to the original module, these are on here. These are the original module Q3, Q6, Q11 to help you navigate and work out which room is actually which, because most of the descriptions are in the original module with only minor updates in Reloaded. So navigating around can be a little bit awkward, so those are in there to help you. We've got all of our spiders. These are all out ready to go. These are all hidden by default, of course, so that they get revealed as and when you need them. And we do have Sir Godfrey Gilwyn over here as well. Now, we've got some lighting in here, of course, so that you can turn them on and off. But we've also got some sounds in here, which is to do with the whispering voices from those. It's probably not going to be able to hear them through there because they are subtle. That's the point. They're supposed to be subtle. So that's the ground floor. We didn't do anything particularly special here. Of course, we have made it so that we don't get weather inside. That's all in there built for you. Moving up to the first floor. Let me just get rid of that. Very similar map, but it is the first floor. There are changes. There's not an awful lot on here. We have got our tokens. Now, all of these Phantom Warriors are hidden because they start off hidden, but we've also got our little pseudo dragon for that particular part of that, if you want to use it. Second floor, again, very similar. There's not an awful lot going on, but because you can see there how many rooms there are, which is why we've got those flags on for you to make your life a little bit easier. But we can continue on up through the tower to the roof section, where again, it's quite a large map. There's not an awful lot happening until we get to the top, to the beacon area. And because there are 2 levels here, I have conjoined this map. So the players start off coming up here, before coming up here, where they probably shouldn't the first time round encounter Vladimir, but he is here, as well as that gargoyle ready to go. All right, so that's it. That's all complete and ready. That's all you need for it. It's all good. And one thing to point out is when they return so they will come here first. They will get a mission. Part of that mission is when they go to the castle is to retrieve the dragon's skull. When they return to here and put the dragon's skull back, we do have this button here. If you click this button, it lights the beacon. Now, bearing in mind that this beacon can be seen right across the entire valley from anywhere with a clear line of sight, I've made this really bright locally. So that is going to be really, really bright here. Now, the reason I've got the button on this level is because it is this area here, Q16, where they deposit it and the beacon comes on, even though the beacon is at the top of the building. So if we now travel across those scenes up the building, you will see that beacon is actually activated now on all of them. So that lighting is across all scenes, right up to the top where the beacon is here. See it shining out from the tower itself. So I've tried to make that kind of nice. There's actually an impact when they do light that beacon, but the button is on the ground floor because that's when the beacon on the top floor gets lit by actions on the ground floor. So that's why that is there. Right, that's it for this one. On to the next arc. Arc 0 is all about Castle Ravenloft and going for dinner. Now, in theory, it's relatively straightforward. They go for dinner, they have to stay the night, they experience a nightmare, then they leave again. But players being players, anything could happen. So we're starting off at the Blue Water Inn. So yes, another version of it for you, just because that's likely to be where your players spend most of their sleeping downtime. We have got this scene for Doro at the gates, just so that if you are running that bit, if Doro is still alive, etc., you've got that ready to go. Nothing special there. We do have the scene with the rider's guidance here. So you can see the rider in the background that stands on this scene. And remember, the DM's view is not the same as the player's view. So they will see that scene, they will see it with that rider. They can read that letter. You can click the button and it will show them that letter so they can see that a bit better. And if they explore the Raven Tree itself, by clicking this, it will change for them the scene to the like a battle map with the tree. So this is very much a role-playing kind of scene, but we have given you some nice images for that, to make that, you know, a bit nicer rather than just a blank screen while you describe it. They move on a bit further to the Black Carriage. So this is the junction where the Vallaki is behind you. Do a right there to go back through the hills to Barovia, or you follow this road up here towards the castle, and Strahd's carriage is waiting for them to give them a lift if they want it. Off to the castle itself. So we have just put in the carriage at the beginning here. This is, I mean, you can see the size of these maps. So once again, like Agenvostholt, each layer of the castle is a separate scene, because it's just too big a map to have it all in one scene. It will get chaotic and it will be slow loading, and people on lower end machines might have problems. So we've got all of the figures that you need in here ready to go. So the visible ones, so Rayadin and Anastasia, are right here to greet them initially, followed by Esha and Sasha, who are also here. And then when they come inside, you've got Ludmilla and Valenta Popovsky. In the unlikely scenario where they actually manage to kill and completely get rid of either of those, you just need to delete them from the scene. But the idea is being that they've had those first initial encounters with them, Valenta at the Coffin Maker's house, and the Druid's Hill with Ludmilla, and then they're coming to dinner with Strahd, and these two have already been defeated once but not destroyed. They're going to come down and obviously come into the area here for dinner. Strahd is a hidden token. He will join them afterwards. And we've got Anton the servant here who comes and serves, so he's ready to go as well. In the corners here we do have the gargoyles, so if the players do try to wander around the castle unguided, the gargoyles will attack them, so those are ready if you need them. And on the way out, that you will see that we've got a Dovola here who comes in and talks about the fact that the drawbridge has been destroyed and damaged and things. Now, I don't think we put any other... we've got all the lights in for everywhere, by the way. Everywhere there's a torch, just like our other scenes, we do have them on. So if they do wander around, if they do choose to light things, you can absolutely do that. That's all good and ready to go for us. Obviously all the walls and things are in, including any of the secret doors and stuff, are all part and parcel of that. Now I have just noticed that Sasha down here has got a missing token. I will of course correct that in the release, but of course we've also got Sasha up here, the correct one, so don't feel that you're too worried about it. It's easy fix. I will just repackage that. So note that there is the secret door here behind the organ. So that's all in place. That's all ready to go for that particular scene for Dinner with the Devil. Moving on to the first floor. Remember, I'm British, so we have the ground floor, first floor. For the Americans, that's going to confuse you slightly. Just rename your scenes if it makes life easier for you. Once you've installed it, it's yours, isn't it? So the second floor here, because there is a bit of a wandering around the castle, I have got Ludmilla, I've got Rayadin and the prisoner. They are hidden tokens, but they're ready for you, so you don't have to go and find them in the actors thing and drag them out. They are ready to go for that particular escorting the players around the castle and giving them a bit of a tour, that is all there ready to go. On the second floor, there's not an awful lot going on for this part of the adventure. We do have our swarms of rats here if the party do try to wander off, and we also have Anastasia, who is up here as well. Again, if you read the Reloaded, that makes sense why those tokens are there. They're hidden unless you need them, but yeah, it's good to have them on standby, I feel. Up to the third floor. So again, we've got big map, but not an awful lot happening. It's mostly happening in this area here. This is the guest quarters where the party will be have to stay the night because of the magic drawbridge is damaged by the storm. How convenient they have to stay here. And Escher's just tucked away off scene there for when you need him to escorting the players to their bedroom. There is absolutely no reason the players come up here, but if they do, because they're likely to, because that's what they do, we've got the Brooms of Animated Attack ready for this particular area of the scene. So that's all good to go. Up to the fifth floor, again, not an awful lot here. Now we have got the Heart of Darkness is here, thumping away. There's absolutely no way your players should get to this as part of this arc. If they do, we've got a Strahd on hand there to encourage them the other direction or to beat the crap out of them if necessary. Sixth floor, again, included for completeness, but they're not going to use it here. And then finally the seventh floor with this open area. Again, there's no reason your players will ever end up on the seventh floor area. We have, of course, got the lower dungeons here. Now, everything, as you can see, where it should be lit, it is lit, and it's dark everywhere else. If they are in the lower dungeons as part of this, chances are something's gone slightly wrong. This is mostly empty because they should never actually get down here as part of this. If they start wandering the castle, they manage to get this far, then jump to using the Ravenloft heist versions of these maps, which obviously we'll get to in the next arc. The upper dungeon, this is included. They may well get to this bit. They may well come and see Cyrus. So he's in there ready to go in the kitchen, etc. But once again, they shouldn't actually get too far with this at all without Raoden coming to escort them back. This is not about them exploring the castle on their own in this arc. That's in the next one. This one is about them staying the night and experiencing Varushka's nightmare. So I do want to take you over this in slightly more detail, because this is a scene where they stay on the same floor, but they kind of teleport round in a constant circle. Now, from the player's point of view, they never leave the same floor, but the floor changes every time. So how we've done this, of course, is this is the first iteration, the second iteration, the third iteration, the fourth iteration, where they could smash out through the window. And weirdly enough, there's a wardrobe sitting on the roof that they have to get, and they get attacked. Before they get to the fifth one here, where they eventually encounter Varushka. Just given away something, haven't I? There we go. So down here, it does talk about a clock chiming. So you've got, it starts off by striking 10. I'm not going to click that, or otherwise we're going to be listening to that for all 10 chimes. But we have got these chimes here for just doing the on the hour ones. Okay, so it's just a nice little carriage clock type of chime. I hope that comes through on the video okay. So you can click that to click the first one, and then you've got that one for the others. We have got Varushka's Spirit here ready for when you need it, but of course is in the Actors tab. So they're going to travel around here, they're going to find their way up, they then find themselves back on this floor. We do have Ismark. So the Spirit of Ismark is here, ready for that part of the encounter. They go round once again. They are more than likely to have a fight with the animated furniture here. So those things are all ready to go. They are all hidden tokens. Alright, so they're just going to see the scene as it is, unless you want to kick that off. They're going to go up once again to this floor. They're going to go around again through here, and they're going to meet Piddlewick. Now if I zoom in on Piddlewick, you should be able to hear that we've got that tick-tock clicking clockwork sound. So Piddlewick is hidden because he's under the bed. So my thoughts were the players coming into this room can hear the ticking, that clockwork ticking that is coming from Piddlewick, and then they investigate and then they encounter Piddlewick. So it's just a nice little bit of atmosphere for them doing that and going, what's that noise? They should pick up on that without you having to describe the ticking noise. They should just hear it. Okay, round once more. So they do come up again, and this is where they end up making an escape through the window. So I've put this as a door so that your tokens can move out here. We've got the swarms of bats ready for them, and here we have the adult black dragon that they are not supposed to fight. The idea is that bursts its way through and chases them out of the window across the roof. That's the idea of that, but obviously we want a token to represent that. Fifth time round, when they actually meet Verushka, and what I gave away is the fact that when we click on, or when they are in this area, they will hear her sobbing, and we've got that set up so that they can hear that from outside of the door. So that is playing constantly, but of course once they start talking to her, you can click this button and that will toggle that off for you. So you don't need to worry about coming into the sound and going, oh, I need to go and do that, so I can just toggle that back on, etc. Okay, so we've got a nice bit of sobbing there. That works really, really well. We then have the other part of Verushka's nightmare after they've spoken with her, where they do go off and explore some of the lower layers. So when they come down here, because this is a vision from the past kind of scene, we have got our corpses and things all here ready to go because we love piles of corpses everywhere. Our encounter with Strahd as part of the nightmare, so it's an earlier version of Strahd, and then they will make their way up through these sections here and have that encounter, and they meet Verushka again. So this is all laid out for you. Now bearing in mind, again, they teleport round in circles and things like that, so I've just put a note there that once the players get the first key, you need to switch typo the active region behavior here so that they return to the correct place. So just bear in mind, this is an active region. Have key, you can just turn this on off to make that actually work. Okay, so we want to enable that teleporter token. Alright, so it just makes sure that they can move around the map in the order you're expecting. I strongly recommend that you really do read this part of the module well before the session so that you understand the flow through the nightmare, because it can get a little bit confusing, and if you're not prepared, you're going to get lost. You're going to have to pause the game while you work out what's going on, and then you've lost that atmosphere. Okay, so lots of scenes in this one. We're going to be repeating those a couple of times, of course, for the different arcs, but that is Arc O done. So for Arc P, we're back at the castle again. So this is the Ravenloft heist. The idea is that the players have left the castle after surviving the nightmare, and they head back to wherever. They may head back to Vallaki, etc. But then they plan the heist while Strahd is away. So our first actual scene is there is no carriage waiting for them this time, but we've got this back at the junction. Now there's a good chance they return to Vallaki and the Blue Water Inn. You've got those scenes. You can pick them from one of the other chapters. I didn't feel the need to replicate it again here. Back to the castle. Of course, it is night time now. There is another one I've just noticed where we've got we haven't got an updated one, but that's really easy to fix. If you do encounter any of these, because of the way that we've got these, they're really easy to fix because we've got them in here. Except you're not in there, you're going to be in here. So yeah, really simple for us to be able to just swap those out. So apologies again, I'll try and fix any of those little ones that we see. Doesn't matter how many times you do it, as soon as you look at it again you go, I missed one. In fact, I think I already fixed that, but I haven't got the latest version on this particular one. Right, so as I said, we're back at the castle. This is the Ravenloft heist. It is now night time. They're coming in here. You'll notice a lot of the tokens that were here have moved, so we have got things working a bit different. We do have Ludmilla here, ready if we need her, because we will be moving around. Now Ludmilla is in a few places, because when they encounter her first here, she then flies off over here. So rather than having you continually dragging out the token, I've put her in those key areas. Now I know this scene is quite dark because it is nighttime. I'm going to make this daylight for you so that you can see a few other things. You can see we've got all of the lights on this scene just like before, ready to go. We've got those tokens in place. Now this bit up here, just note that we have got things like the corpse and the drag marks and things like that, so we've added those bits to it. So this should be fairly straightforward. It's much more about role play and stuff than too much else. We've got the first floor again, so once again updated. We do have things like the Broom of Animated Attack that they find in there. Turn lights on and off as appropriate for you. Again, not an awful lot to worry about on that particular floor. Up to the third floor, this is where maybe actually find Gertruda. So Gertruda is here, ready for them to actually find her. She is up the castle. I decided that she was being kept fairly well. She's got her own bedroom and things like that, even though she is a prisoner and potentially a bride of Strahd in the future. She is here ready to be rescued. Now, we potentially have Anastasia turn up with a couple of whites at this point, so they are in that secret passage ready to come out and confront the players in the lounge here if they are needed. So they're all ready to go. We don't need to do anything else on this one. Moving to the third floor, so we're all set up here. So this is back where the players stayed for the night. We have the cat on the stairs is ready. We've got Portrait of Strahd if that attacks them, and the animated rug. Those are all in place, ready to go. But again, they're hidden until you need them. And here is Escher as well, that they may well encounter as part of this, exploring this part of the castle. Because they do get a chance to have a bit of explore now, which is why we need a bit more stuff filled in. So if they do explore, go up the trapdoor and things like that, they will, of course, encounter things like the creatures up here, all of the cats, and they've got all the Barovian witches ready in this room here for combat or whatever is required. So that's all set up, ready to go for that encounter, should the players come that direction. Moving up, again, we've got the beating heart. Unlikely the players are going to get that far. It's actually quite difficult to get to there by accident. You have to go quite a long, convoluted route. Nothing going on here, and again, the seventh one, again, nothing going on here. But if the players go all the way up the stairs, you want to be ready to have a scene for them. Let's do the upper dungeon first, because actually technically this is where they should come. So coming down the stairs, most likely they'll come this way. They're going to encounter Cyrus again here. And we've got the couple of vampire spawn ready to go, and this is where things might kick off, because they actually will explore this properly. We've got our bone mounds here that produce skeletons all the time, so those are in place, and of course we've got the dragon skull. This is one of the things that they are looking for here, so they can take that with you. There is an item for the dragon skull, so you can chuck it in somebody's inventory for them to carry around. It is heavy, it's going to cause problems, which is good. And we've got all of these zombies and plague spreaders down here, should the players get into trouble, or rather, should the players go down there. Big fight. Perfect opportunity for a couple of fireballs down there, which is really, really nice. So that is this game. There's no buttons or anything. There's no hidden tiles for this one. That's all nice and straightforward. And then when we look at the lower dungeon, we have got a bit more going on here. Now again, this is dark because it is underground. Let's start up the top here. We do have Raoden hidden in a couple of places, because in theory he does turn up. And we've got any of these, like the gargoyles and the ghosts they encounter and stuff, are all here. We've got some lights glowing where we need to for items. Each one of these rooms has different stuff in it. If it's an item they can take away with them, you will find it in the items. So they're all here. They find Kazan's staff and skull, for example. They find things like that. I think they find a moon-touched rapier here. They find a couple of trophy kind of things as well. Yeah, so that's all there should you need it. All of those items if they raid the place properly. Down here there is this light barrier that prevents them coming into K88, or rather doesn't prevent them, but gives a light barrier. It's just 2 lights. You can just turn them off if you need to. You'll see the map's got a very faint one on there. I didn't think that was enough, so I've popped that on to make that a bit more obvious, and they're going to be able to see that further across the map as well. Once again, we do have Raidin down here, and there's a good chance that they have a fight with him down here if they're raiding down this far. For K86, we do have our vampire spawns ready as well. So again, as long as you've read the module, you know, nice and clearly, and this floor, there's so many little chambers, just take your time to familiarize yourself with it so that you're ready for it. And again, because I've not updated to my very latest version, again, I've got Emil's missing his token here. But trust me, he's good. We've got a grey ooze here. If they encounter that, there's fair bits of treasure and stuff they find in those. Again, if it's coins, you just add it. If it's actually an item, you'll find it in the item pack. If Milivoy is still alive and he was taken to the castle, they will find him here. He's hidden at the moment because he may not be at the castle, but if he is, then come and find him in the dungeons. Same with Emil. So this is from the werewolves. If they are coming here and they want to rescue Emil, he is right here. Again, I will make sure that that is correct and working. Now, this passageway here between this is quite dangerous. So if I flip to our tiles, you will notice that we've got several tiles here which are to indicate the traps. So just looking at each of these, so you can't see them as the DM because they are hidden. There are traps here, and it will play sounds and it will do various things to the players as in line with stuff. Now it should work if I just pick any token and walk on that. So we get some sound effects of that water. The token has disappeared, it's paused the game, and in this case that particular trap teleports them over here into the Iron Maiden, I think it was. So it will do those things for you. Any of these traps, when they walk over, it will take them to the correct torture device, and probably can't see it very well unless I stick a light on here for you. It will reveal the traps for them. So again, this trap here is revealed once they trigger it. So that's all done kind of automatically. It's not doing the damage and stuff. We don't have that automation on, but it is just moving people where they need to be for those various things. Oh yes, she's drowning. Lovely. There we go. I'm not sure why that was slight delay before she did that, but she's now drowning underwater. Got to rescue her a bit quick. Now you can just reset the traps manually. That's not a problem. Now the whole point is that some of the players are likely to end up in those traps and stuff, while the rest of the party desperately try to rescue them, with Valenta, if she is still alive, is here basically laughing and lording it over, watching them suffer and struggle and stuff, and just chuck some zombies in to make that slightly more challenging for them. If she has already died, have everything as per normal, just don't include her. That's fine, they've already dealt with her before. This room here is the teleporter. So depending on what they do with regard to the gems, it will allow those players to teleport to all sorts of different places around the valley. So you can see on the left hand side here that we have got the different, depending on which gems they use, it will change the lighting. And I've also put in here, if it's the orange one, that's going to take them to the tower. Now, I did consider having this automatically teleport the party, but it was really quite tricky to do with the limited modules we're using. And of course, you need then what state the tower is in when they go to the tower and what state Koretsk is in, etc. So I haven't done that. And of course, one member of the party might teleport and leave everybody else behind. So how you might choose to manage that as a DM is like, yeah, brilliant. Okay, so you do the red gem, they teleport, you just delete their token. The rest of the party doesn't know where they've gone, and you can just tell that player, just wait a minute, I want to see what the rest of the party's doing here first. and then switch over to that person, switch over to that scene for that individual. Hopefully your party won't split up and go, let's pick one each. You can just reset that back to normal with that top button there. So quite straightforward. It's just a lighting effect for you. We do have the other creatures in, of course, here. We do have this trapdoor. Now, this trapdoor doesn't actually do anything. I've just marked it for you. So if they do set off that trapdoor, they slide down this here and end up in this cell down here. So that's there isn't actually a, oh, sorry, not walls. There isn't actually a active tile there to do anything because left that for you to role play that one out. Okay, that is the Ravenloft heist. So that is most of the stuff at the castle, but we do have one more arc to go. I will see you in a few moments in that one. Arc Q, the Shining Beacon, not to be confused with the Shining Beacon from the Dragon's Manor, which does throw people off. It certainly threw me. It's like, hang on a minute, which beacon? We've already done that, haven't we? So this takes place after the Ravenloft heist. We've retrieved some of the items that we needed to from Castle Ravenloft. So where your players go after the castle, they could well go back to the Dragon's Manor, Agenvostholt, to return the skull. But one of the things that they are likely to do is to come back to Kresk and to the Abbey to finish off this scene. So once again, we have got these characters here for you because they are travelling. Obviously, that one needs fixing, so that will be done before you get hold of this. I checked it so many times. Again, I'm not on the latest version of my own mod, so I do need to just make sure that that is fixed in the original. For the Raven River Crossroads, again, if they're crossing this, it's just here. But of course, they're going to end up at the gates of Kresk. So if they use the teleporter from the castle, they're going to come straight here, straight to the cottage. You don't need to worry about it. If they're traveling, then you are going to do the river crossroads, the Lunar River Crossroads, the Raven River crossing to the gates once again. So this scene we've seen before, and then up to the Abbey. Now, this is the point where, in theory, they are coming to deal with the Abbot and put an end to his mischief. So if, as this plays out, the Abbot does not transform in the way that other creatures do, but we do have Ethereal here, the Dawnbringer, which is that form. Now, when they fight Ethereal, of course, he does have two forms, so we've got that one there again to transform him and turn him into his other form on here. So big battle with angel-y things trying to actually, save the world, etc. So again, those monsters are all there ready to go. Apart from that, this is really quite simple. The only other place again is that they may well come back to the Shrine of the White Sun. So that scene is there as well. So in this whole arc, they start encountering more of Strahd's forces. They go to the castle for dinner, and they're starting to tick off some of those missions that they've been picking up along the way, sorting out what's going on with Agenvostholt, sorting out what's going on with the Abbey, getting those things ticked off. They've sorted out what's going on with the missing wine, picking up more clues, and it's this Act 3, where they start to annoy Strahd, because now they're starting to do things that directly go against his plans and his wishes. Just irritations at this point. So that brings us to the end of Act 3. So we will move on to Act 4 and the next arc, of course. So now we're on to Act 4, the final act in Curse of Strahd, with 4 arcs within here. Things can start to go a little bit less structured as we move forward through these, and begins the desperate hunt for the final things they need to confront Strahd. So let's take a look at the Arc R, which is Trials of the Mountain, which is all about visiting the Amber Temple. So we've got our scene where they come and see Casimir once again. Nothing exciting there. And then we do have the scene for the Baron's Revenge. Now, there are a couple of bits you need to be aware of on here. So obviously we've got the Baron here. He is hidden, but we have got some effects and things like that. So we do have a button here that you can click to darken the scene. It's very subtle, but it does make it slightly darker. And note that we've got a couple of comments here about move this tile where you want Strahd to appear, because the idea is that Strahd appears and intercepts what's going on with this battle. So I can move. I didn't mean to click it. So I meant to move that tile where I wanted it before clicking it, but as you saw, actually what that did was it plays a little animation and then it summons Strahd as the token for it. Now, when the Baron gets absolutely wiped out, again, you can move this one over where he is, and then click that, and you'll see the bats descend to basically rip him to pieces. So it's just a very simple little thing, but it does add a little bit of extra for it, a bit of animation of Strahd appearing, and the bats ripping the Baron to pieces. Now, it's very possible in your game that the Baron has already died, or doesn't exist and things, so you can replace this with other people if you want to. In my current game, Izuk, the red-armed, devil-armed thing that works for the Baron, my players didn't kill him, they banished him, so he's still out there. For most parties, he would be dead at that part of the adventure. So in my one, it's not the Baron's revenge. It's Izuk's revenge. They will fight him and fight him to the death. So I will be using this scene for that. So don't feel that you have to stick to the module strictly. Move it around, change it, and you might decide not to do this scene at all. Totally up to you. The Arasek Stockyard, we've been here several times, so we've seen this before. That's just there. There's nothing special about it. The Druid's Revenge. So this is, again, just basically it's a combat. You can see this is set up. Apologies, this is one of the very few maps where I only have a version which has the grid on it. Because of some of the changes that DragnaCarta made, the original map pack that I have used for Curse of Strahd by Aeon Bar, and a huge thanks to Aeon Bar for allowing me to use his maps at 100% for free and be able to distribute them. What it meant is that a number of scenes got created after Aeon Bar had finished his project, and therefore he didn't have maps that were suitable in there. So I've obviously had to find additional maps to include in the pack that we can use and share without using copyrighted or Patreon protected pay for type of materials. So apologies, that's got some squares on it, but anyway, this is a fairly simple combat encounter. We do have these pit traps in the middle here, so again, you know, you can just reveal those, etc. I'm not sure if these, did I put any triggers? Yeah, so the triggers are on there. It will pause the game as well as show the tiles for them. Now these creatures here, these root spike triads, it talks in the module about there being 3 of them together that basically form a large creature, and it was a little bit, how do we actually manage that? So I've got them as one large token rather than 3 individuals, because they all share hit points and things like that. They all work together, and effectively they are just spellcasters. So the 3 of them work together to cast one spell. So they're treated as one creature. So that's how I've created them. So it's up to you whether you describe them as 3 separate creatures or just as, you know, you do you. It's all good. So after the Druid's Revenge, and of course this is following the events of Yester Hill, again you may not choose to use it, they start heading up towards the mountain. So we have got the monument that they can come and visit, and potentially have this encounter with the Snow Maidens. So all of the Snow Maidens on there, they're all hidden, ready for that. Now bear in mind, some of these Snow Maidens are on these creatures, these peritons. So you can move these if I can actually just select the ones I want, you can move these together to show that they are actually riding upon them nice and easily, and do your combat that way rather than anything else, because they absolutely can be separated. So I didn't want to just go, oh, it's one combined monster, because what happens if they kill the mount? They've then got the rider, so the rider needs to be able to be free to do that, and vice versa. They might kill the rider, but the mount is still there, so they are effectively two different creatures for that purpose. Moving on from there, we've got the blizzard up the mountain. There's not anything particular here, just to set a scene. There's some descriptive stuff. As they move up to the mountain, they do get to the Selenka Pass with the gates. Now just bearing in mind that if we hover over these, those tiles will fade where required for it. We've got two versions of the gates. We've got this one, but we've also got this version up here with the Varoks on the roof. You can see that one fades out, the tower fades out, but also in the middle there we've got the fire barrier thing for them as well. So use both, one, whichever is most appropriate for what you're doing. Rider on the bridge, again, it's just a scene, nothing special on here whatsoever, which is easy peasy. The avalanche, once again, and you can see where we've started to use some scenes rather than battle maps, because a lot of this is about against the elements rather than fighting creatures, so things like just imagery is more appropriate. When we get to the Twin Falls, now some people pointed out that a map I was using was in twice. I had inadvertently used a map that I didn't have permissions for in a previous version as a placeholder. That has now been replaced. Now I have put a label on here for you so that you know where the secret door is on this map. It's just located behind this waterfall. Move it if you want to. It doesn't matter. You might say it's to the right rather than the left. You might stick it up around behind these rocks. Doesn't matter, just know what you're going to do. Now when it comes to combat on here, this is a very small scale map because these creatures are large. You can see by the size of the normal human tokens here. So this is a large map with you know, to use as a battle scene. And I know it's not a top-down map for that, but hey, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more interesting. So we've got that going on for this scene if they get into that fight. Of course, the idea is that they need to escape. And these individuals that are off to the side here can appear to help them escape through that secret door. And if they do so, they're going to enter the tunnel where they are going to meet these individuals. Now these are on as tiles rather than anything else, so you can just hide them if you want to. But in theory, they meet them straight away, so I didn't hide them to start with. Going through the tunnel, they end up at the Chief's Longhouse. So you've got these individuals that are here once again. This time they are in the unlikely chance that combat kicks off. You've got these actually as tokens so that you've got that access to their statistics and weapons and everything else if you need them. And we've got Orales here, who's hidden because he doesn't start off visible. But we've got the nice longhouse for them to come and chill out in. And then they visit the shrine. Now, I've really struggled to get a shrine setting that matched the description in the module very well. So I went to heck with this and I just made my own. So deal with it. When they want to speak to, or when they discover Berberus, you can just click this tile and he will appear. They can have that conversation, then he can fade back into the rock. Again, it's a role-playing scene rather than anything else, so as long as it looks nice, that's actually the most important thing. So this gets them up the mountain, but they haven't actually done an awful lot of what they need to do here yet. That will be in the next arc. So this arc, A Sword of Sunlight, is all about retrieving the Sword of Sunlight. And there is only one scene here, which is the Amber Temple. So it is quite a small arc, although it might take them a while. Once again, because it's quite a complex map with lots of different areas, I have tagged this up in line with the original module, because you can't run this without that original module. So you've got all those. But we have put in all of the NPCs. You will notice that this chap appears in a couple of different places because he can teleport around somewhat. So he's hidden in those places where you might need him. Just going around here kind of clockwise, you've got your flame skulls. Now this was a bit of a tricky map because these flame skulls are on the above and overlooking this area down here, which is this area down here. So technically, if your players come down these stairs, they end up in this area here, but the flame skulls are above them. And this is one of the limitations of Foundry not being brilliant at doing multi-level. So however you wish to do that, you might have your players walk down here, and any combat, you do it on this level even though the players are lower. Or you might choose to just grab those guys and port them over to here, and then just say that they are elevated and protected behind those arrow slits. It's up to you how you want to run that. It's not brilliant, but that's a limitation of Foundry being able to do that. But we do get pretty pictures to look at, which is great. So what else we got on the rest of this map? We do have the dining area here as well. If you double click it, that illusion of the dining area does disappear. Double click it again, it comes back. So nice and simple for that. We do have the Spirit of Exantha is up here. Nothing special. We've got our it says stone golem, but it's actually, of course, it's our amber golem. I just not updated the token name on this version. Do apologize. And then over here we have got Villainous, the first prisoner. We've got his Quasit here, who's already invisible, and we've got the Shield Guardian that they will need to deal with. So that's quite easy. When we come down to this section again, it's not too there's nothing particularly you need to worry about. We've got spectres in here where they are required. We've got another one of those amber golems in here. Treasure areas are all labelled up for you. We do have our Nothic over here ready. Our Shield Guardian that is disabled is over here, ready for that. And the only kind of interesting area, I suppose, is down at the bottom here where we've got our Blue Slard and we've got our Death Slard. Now, this Death Slard starts off looking as a woman who needs help, so we've got a token for her, but then when she wants to, she will transform into her Death Slard. So that's all ready to go for you. You just transform her. You don't really need to know anything else. Just be aware that all the ones that can transform have transform abilities built in. That's it. For as far as the rest of it's reading the module and understanding exactly what the flow of the adventure is through here. But from a how to use this module point of view, yeah, that's it. On to the next one. So Arc T, our penultimate arc, is all about weakening Strahd, ready in preparation for the final battle. We've got to get down off that mountain. So once again, we're at the Chief's Longhouse here, and we have a repetition of some of those scenes that we've already seen. So we've got the Twin Falls. Once again, back at the shrine, works exactly as it did before, but this time they may go and visit the Cavern of Lights. And each of these, we've just got a tile here. Just double click to reveal those icy engravings for each of the Thanes. So this is where they learn about the connection between the Thanes and Strahd. So he is tied to the land by the fact that he has corrupted the Thanes. Of course, they need to get the rest of the gems in order to restore the balance with the Thanes. So we've got a different scene here as they head up the mountain, and then they encounter the rock up here, the rock of Giltheus. Gakis. Helps if I get it right. Giltheus is the name of the tree, not the mountain. So we have got a little glowing in the nest here, because in theory, so your party's going to come in at this bottom bit here. And they're going to work their way around here to get to the nest to retrieve that. Of course, this rock is going to turn up and more than likely try to prevent them from taking the gem from there. The gem is, of course, it's in the items. So you've got that. So you've got the green, sage and viridian, 3 gems that they need to collect. They've already collected one from the Wizard of the Wines from Yester Hill. They're collecting this one from here. So nothing you need to know about on that, really. For running it, it's quite straightforward. We're back to the Wizards of the Wines. Now, if you need to make a choice here. If the Wizards of the Wines has been trashed, this is your scene to use. Okay, so we've got some rubble on here, and it's pretty much been abandoned because of that. We do have some scarecrows out in the fields, etc. So this is all connected with regarding what happened at Yester Hill, and whether Winter Splinter was released and whether he's trashed the Wizard of Wines or not. We've still got our lightning here if you need it. Okay, so that's there for you. Vallaki West Gate. So we've got this. When they come back to Vallaki, there's been another change of ownership. Remember, at this point, Strahd is starting to get a little bit worried and a little bit annoyed with the party because they are starting to undo things. They've been to the Amber Temple. They've worked out lots of secrets. They've probably got the Sun Sword. And now they are trying to undo his connection with the Fanes, and basically undermine the roots of his power. So they return to Vallaki. They are restricted from entering initially. We've got back to St Andrew's Church if they visit, which again has been shut down. Now, here's Milvoy again, who may or may not have been rescued from the dungeon. So just remember, if he's still in the dungeon and they left him there, don't delete him off of here. You don't want him here. But we've got this scene just ready to set up for the people complaining about the church has been locked. We're back at the Blue Water Inn. Note that all of our people who live here are upstairs. It's a very different thing now. It's a very different feel. It's much more oppressive, even more oppressive than when the party first arrived in Vallaki. Burgomaster's Mansion, because we are likely to come here. Now, this is one of those maps that this looks a little bit blurry on this version, but it is updated in the later version to make it look a bit more sharp again, so please don't worry about that. In theory, they're coming to see Victor, but of course this is set out as it would normally be. Now, Victor is on here twice. It depends where you want him to be, and there's a good chance that the Baron's not here as well. So just delete, again, just like you would with any game, just prepare your scenes. Make sure you get rid of things that aren't needed. We've got the town square scene here where we've got Bluto and Gadolf Blinsky are in the stocks. So again, just if they're passing through there. But they're going to be heading off to go and, in theory, hopefully, deal with Babala Saga. So when they approach, we've just got a scene here to give an example, to give a bit of imagery around the fact that this giant stick and leafy, ivy, spiky hedge has grown up around the whole area. So the hedge maze from the outside, use it or don't, whatever works for you. But inside the hedge maze, now again, if you read the module, this is really kind of difficult to replicate because they've been here before, so they know the lie of the land. So we've got hundreds of tiles trying to replicate the way that those individuals can move through there. So they can't go straight to Babala Saga's hut. They've got to work their way through effectively through the maze, through the northern cottages. There is nowhere on this map that really shows that it is the town square. That doesn't make a lot of sense because these are the southern cottages down here. But it does talk about all the boggy water, so I've elected to put that in the middle there. Okay, so that would make, hopefully that makes sense. Off to the goat pen. Now on this map again, this goat pen is really small, so just bear in mind that for some of these areas there are on the right hand side specific scenes for the goat pen. So if you jump to the goat pen where they've all been turned into giant hyenas instead, and they decide to have combat or whatever, jump to that scene in order to do that. Encounter with Sergi is likely to be a role-playing encounter. You don't necessarily need to jump to another scene for that at all, but we have got the churchyard here, and just bear in mind that this piece of hedge here is actually, they can move through this piece of hedge, even though it looks like they can't at first. They can pass through there to go to the mansion. They can shortcut through there rather than going all the way back round the other way. Which takes us to this scene for the mansion and garden. Now this is the mansion place, this is the garden, and here is the underground bit. Now once again, you know, I have got a couple of tokens that are missing. this is the version that I use to do final testing and update the module, so please ignore those. They have been fixed in the version that you've got. It's just I've not updated this one. This is my test one where I spot those things and then fix them before I send it out to you. So you shouldn't see any of those kind of issues. So these are all combined together, nice and easy. Now as they continue through the maze, of course, dealing with all these things, they will end up at Babala Saga's hut. So she is here. Now, we've got the tile for the roof, but we've got the hut itself. Because they fight the hut, it is set up as a token because it will do combat. So you will need to, when you're doing this, is you'll need to either delete or hide that roof once combat kicks off, or otherwise it's just going to sit there weirdly on its own because it won't follow the rest of the house as the house moves around and attacks them. Now again, obviously the house has got all of its stat blocks and everything else all built in, ready to go, and it's got its stolen gem thing there, so they can hopefully retrieve that gem from here. So they get the gem from here, they got the gem from the Rock's Nest, and there's the one from the winery as well. Babala Saga is here. Now she does have two forms, so like we've talked about before, she's got swallowed by the swamp reaction here when she hits 0 hit points, and we can just transform her into her next version of that as well. So nice and easy to do, just literally a couple of clicks, it's a reaction. Now after this, there's potential that some of these guys at the winery have been captured. So Dag, Davian and Stefani are here. They're all hidden, ready for you to go, oh, and they've you know, they've been rescued, and you can just continue your role-playing scene here on this piece of map. Alright, so where did they go from here? Now we're not very far away from the Swamp Fane, which is just over the river here. So the next scene is the Swamp Fane, where we have these phase spiders. Now we have had the Swamp Fane scene before, because when they very first come to the swamp, they could go and investigate it, fine, but now they're coming here to actually suss it out properly. So that is here for you, ready to go. When they're heading back, at some point, heading back towards the Vistani camp or Vallaki, they will come across the river crossroads, and they will talk to Alexei once more. Now, in case you need it, toggle to battle map as before. Vistani camp, again, we've been here before. We've just updated the tokens so that we so that it matches this scene now. And do note that our Arturo, who is hiding, is actually buried here in this wagon, so he's just off to one side, a hidden token for you. But again, just mostly a role-playing thing here, you know, with Escher coming to bring messages, just moving that horse around randomly. Investigating the old Radanovich caravan, so we just got an image of it, of finding the rundown old caravan. We don't need to do anything particular with this. We do have the a part of the final rites. So this is dealing with the history for Van Richten and his Erasmus. So they are both on here with Arturo as well. And there's a massive boss fight. So all your monsters are here. If you look at this and all these tokens are blank, it's because you've not got the monster manual in, because these are all from the D&D 2024 monster manual, so you do need that in for it. But this is straightforward battle map, big fight, yep, kick butt, etc. Off to the Forest Fane. So this is the Gilthias tree once more. Now there's lots of effects and actions and smoke and flames and everything else, and I've built this scene a number of different times. And what I found is when I put on lots of things like all the fire and stuff like that, it did lag quite a bit. And my machine's pretty powerful, so I thought if people are trying to play this with servers, people might not have such good machines. It could be a real problematic scene. So I've simplified it right the way down to make sure that it is accessible for more people. Obviously, you can layer those things on if you want. So we do have the Emerald Wave here, so you can just tick this button, and this is where they're retrieving that gem from the Gilthias tree. The Watchtower House, so again, it's another one where the map is slightly improved in your version of it, because it's a slightly blurry in mine. But we're back to the Watchtower House, no problem whatsoever. Everything you need is there. Once again, the Aristek Stockyard. Notice that we don't have the shopkeeper anymore because of what's going on. So we've hidden them. And then we're off to the Mountain Fane. Now, at the Mountain Fane, this is where they will face Raodin properly, although he is now much more corrupted than he was before. So he's got a couple of different forms. At this point, he is now Amber Touched, and then I think I might have got those the wrong way around. I think I've already transformed him, actually. So we've got, yeah, Amber Touched and Corrupted. So you've got the two versions of him here as well. So yeah, there we go. That's the one. So we've got this chap here. He's looking a bit worse for wear. We've got these vampiric mists, etc., around here. When it comes to the ritual and the big eye thing open, so first of all, you're going to have your combat with Raodin, who has his two forms. Once he has been dispatched and they bury the first gem, we've got this lighting effect for the big eye that stares at the characters. Deal with that however you like, but you've got those effects there, and we can just reset that, and that fades out again. So again, with any of these where you see a button on the side, click it and find out what it does. And most of them you can just reset it with a reset button. So they have they've done the Forest Fane, they've done the Mountain Fane, and they've done the Swamp Fane. So they have moved through those three fanes as part of this arc. So the only thing left to do now is end Strahd, which is in our last final arc. So arc U, our final arc in this, the Dreams of Dawn. This is basically the final battle. So we start off with the War Council, which is at the Watchtower House. So again, we've seen this scene. There's nothing special we need to worry about here at all. We got the town square once again, and this is where things can get quite difficult to follow and pre-build scenes for, because it will be different for every single group depending on your players. This becomes the dream sequence of what could be, or the future vision kind of thing. So I've got all your characters in here. We've got Blinsky in here, Victor's in here, all of the people that you need, random peasants, Ulwen's in here, Yeska, etc. So make sure you prep this scene correctly for your party, because if somehow Victor died, he's not going to be in the future dream. Okay, so just make sure you prep that correctly. Off to Lake Zarovich, just an image for that. The nightmare part of it becomes really quite challenging throughout this that we're coming up to, because it's very personal to individuals. We do have the blue water in here, once again ready for if you need it, if they choose to go there. Back to the Watchtower House. Now the bit of Lake Zarovich is where they make a decision about whether to sacrifice Irina in order to reset the cycle once again, to stop Strahd escaping from Barovia and the mists. They stop him for now. It doesn't break the cycle. So Irina's spirit goes back into circulation, if you like. She effectively sacrifices herself to reset the whole cycle. Your players might go for that. I'm not aware of any party that actually they want to kill Strahd. They don't want to just get out. So they don't tend to accept that, which I think is good. Definitely a better outcome is kill the bad guy. We've got St Andrew's Church here again, so when you need that, that's all here ready to go. And then it talks about the Whispering Wall. Now it gets very kind of confusing depending what the players do. They can see the Whispering Wall, the wall of fog moving right in. If they choose to approach it and things, they will see this figure in here. So this is a faded tile. Just one click will show the image in the mist. Click it again, it disappears. Okay, but it's deliberately supposed to be quite faded out for them. They now jump through a series of kind of portals where they get big scenic views of the valley. So we are just repeating some of our scenes before. Oh yeah, we know this place. This was Yester Hill. So when they arrive here, they know straight away where they are because of that familiarity of the scenes. So that's what a couple of these are for. There's not anything actually to do here. We're back at the falls, of course. Then we end up at the attack on the Swamp Fane, where they need to defend it. And we've got our druids here on the side of the party against these wolves. So that's all good. They encounter the Lonely Maid, which once you read the module, you work out who she is. Again, just a role-playing scene, so we've just got an image for them to look at. And then they end up back at Lake Zarovich. Now, bearing in mind that we do have the butterfly spirit creature is here. Again, just a faded tile. Click on it, reveal it, hide it, etc. I did not, in the module, it does refer to the fact that it gives a stat block for it, in the idea that they could fight it, but it doesn't kind of really say why they would fight it. They shouldn't be fighting it. So I haven't included a stat block because I couldn't see how that is actually going to be a thing. They should not. What I would suggest, if your party look like they're going to fight it, just have it fly off into the mountains. They can't follow it, you know, unless they've got lots of flying and stuff like that. Just have it escape, I would do. Back at the Morning Gate, so ready for this encounter to hold off. Now the players have got a choice here. They can either focus on what they are doing and destroying Strahd, or they can stop to help defend the village. If they or the town of Vallaki. If they do stop to help defend the town of Vallaki, they're going to find themselves here under siege. All your monsters are there to go, and they'll have to deal with them. Up to the old bone grinder. So we've got this on here again in case you need it as part of this, is they head up to the old bone grinder. But we are actually coming back to, once again, this junction on the way to the castle with the carriage here once more. And then we're into our final scenes in the castle itself. Now there are guards, so again, these are hidden. These vampire spawn are hidden because the players won't necessarily see them straight away. But we do have these wights protecting it. We've got their normal defences in place. And of course, in theory, Valenta has been destroyed by now. So has Ludmilla, etc. Raodin has now been destroyed. So Strahd's support has been removed. It's now just Strahd left. And they removed his connection to the land by reconsecrating the Fanes. So yeah, it's just him versus the party now. Now again, they will move through the castle in a particular way. They'll be led through, and here is Sasha ready to lead them. Because it's a bit complicated about, they go this way, this way, this way, this way. I've put these arrows on. Only you can see it as the DM. But this is the way Sasha leads them through the castle. So she leads them up there, up those stairs to the first floor, through here, through the secret door, through the other secret door, and into the main tower here. Which, of course, then they just go up. Now, they just go up. Nothing else to do on this one. And then they just go up. So you might not want to reload each scene just to say you keep climbing stairs. You might just want to say they climb and they climb and they climb and they climb, because there's not a lot for them to do until they get once again up here to the Beating Heart, where Strahd is here to greet them. And this is the very last scene in the module, because this is the very last battle. Now Strahd, of course, he does have his multiple different phases, so that's all built in there as well, so you can just move him through those phases. He's got his 3, the mage, the soldier, the vampire. Again, I think at this point he starts as a soldier before turning into the vampire. It's not always very clear. What I would say is, depends how strong your party is. If you're worried that this is going to be too easy, start with the mage, who becomes the soldier, becomes a vampire. So he has those 3 phases, which makes him extra tough. He's got an extra 3rd hit points. So it's going to take him a lot more to deal with it. What you want, of course, is for ideally the party win, but at a cost. You want to get that balance for this final battle. If they just come in and just kill him, boring, what an anticlimax. It needs to be super dangerous, but they need to have a chance of winning. But anyway, that battle will proceed. In here, then onto the bridge, and then finally it's here. So that's where your 3 phases, one of them in here, one on the bridge, and one of them over here. If your party, I don't know, they all decided to play sorcerers or something, which makes them very, very weak in melee, and they're going to get absolutely trashed. One, well done for them getting this far. But if you need to weaken Strahd a bit to make him balance, then just jump straight to soldier and vampire and miss out the mage thing. I would say don't do that. If your party has got this far and they're not able to deal with Strahd, then you know, they should have the Sword of Sunlight. They should have the Amulet of Ravenkind. They should have those extra things to bolster them. If they can't kill him, but they've managed to get this far, kill them. Let them. They deserve to die. It'd be nice if one person survived. That is the very last scene. What you do after killing Strahd is entirely up to you. So you're aware, DragnaCarta does have access through his Patreon to some aftermath things. So some scenes, some role-playing bits, some what happens once he's gone. If you want to access those, they are available through the Patreon. Go and have a look, decide how you want to end it. I know how I'm ending it for my group, which I'm not going to tell you because one of them will watch this and it will give it away. But you might have them, as soon as this is done, they get swept through the mist immediately. Maybe the castle collapses and they plunge into the mist of the rubble and then appear back where they very first started before they even entered the mists. It's entirely up to you. You may want them to have a chance to catch up with those NPCs they've made friends with. Go and speak to Irina and Esmeralda and go back to the Blue Water Inn. You may want to have a good wrapping up of that. Or you might want to be really horrible to your players and deny them that ability to get closure with those characters. Maybe then they are seeking a way to get back to Ravenloft to come and see those people they've left behind. Entirely up to you. Do what you will, but this scene is the end of the formal module, which of course brings us to the end of this video, taking you through each of those acts. I hope you found it useful. I had a few little tips and things, but also you know how to use this module to its best effect. Feel free to ignore stuff, add stuff, put your own automations in, you know, and change scenes completely, do whatever you like with it. I'd rather you didn't repackage it and pass it on as it is. It's taken 18 months worth of work and I'd rather you didn't do that. But at the end of the day, I don't own anything that I've put into this, only the way that I've put it together. Please do consider people like Aeon Bar. Go and look up Aeon Bar on his Patreon and fling a bit of money his way as a gratitude for allowing us to use these maps. That would be appreciated. Of course, if you do like this module, it is 18 months worth of work. In the description for this video, there is a link to my Ko-fi and to my Patreon. If you do want to say a little thank you, that would be very much appreciated. But bearing in mind that you've already had to make sure that you've bought the original module to run this, and paid out for Foundry and things like that, understandable if you're not able to. Would really appreciate to hear from anybody who is using it. Leave in the comments, let me know how it went. Let me know, just keep me in touch with how many people are actually using this moving forward, because hopefully it saved you a lot of work. Hopefully it enables you to have an awful lot of fun with it. It has been labour of love, but I have really enjoyed doing this, so I hope you enjoy playing with it. I am the Clay Golem. You're very welcome indeed. Have a great time with this, and yeah, tell me your stories. Tell me the good, the bad and the ugly of your players. I love hearing about how other parties cope with this module. I'm out of here. Thanks again. Take care.